What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Yeah, with your boy, comedian Mike Goodwin. I'm back in my regular threads to record the podcast because I got some schedule situation. Now, typically I start each episode with on the road, but I hadn't been on the road because we're home for Thanksgiving. We had time to spend time with families and friends. So we had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So I want to start today's episode, number one, giving a shout out to the Camden Bulldogs, the Camden High Bulldogs out of South Carolina. They are now traveling to the state championship this upcoming Saturday at 7 o'clock. I don't know where it's being played, but we've just recently beat Brooklyn Casey High School. We beat these guys 46-30. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Camden's third time either getting to state or playing the semifinal, the game before state. A great run for the senior class. We're playing Daniel, and I'm of the opinion that we'll win this one. I think we lost to Daniel last year, and I think we're coming back with a vendetta. So shout out to my hometown, Camden Bulldogs. I was thinking about this, and I will do it in an upcoming episode. I need to do a football episode. I need to really outline football and its origins and how I relate to the sport. I think it'd be a very great podcast episode. But since I'm not doing on the road, I want to do an episode called What Are You Reading? Yeah. What are you reading? Now, I've been accused of reading multiple books at the same time, and I do. I read a lot. I'm a very avid reader. I'm often not an avid finisher of the reading that I read, but I also am often reading, and I'm getting great ideas from what I do read. So I've not, you kind of would hold yourself in a negative regard if you didn't finish something that you started. So I've really been working to finish books that I'm reading. But if I read one chapter and I get something from it, I'm just of the opinion that that's great, man. Nobody's grading me on the information that I gain, and so in one regard, I read a lot of books, but I get bored. I mean, it's similar. I do this with television shows. There are a number of shows that I start and I don't finish. I just don't. I lose interest, and I don't know if that's good or bad. That's just what it is. There's a number of shows I've watched multiple seasons of, but I've gotten to a spot and it's like, yeah, I think I've gotten all that I needed from this. I think this is where we'll part now. I think sometimes I do that with books. It's like, it's just not holding my interest. But again, I've been very intentional in finishing books. And so I want to have a conversation, or at least introduce you to a book called The Ghost Boys. The Ghost Boys. This is a book written by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And it's a book more so written for children. Let me tell you how I found out about this book. So my wife and I, we were just in Charlotte, as I said in the previous podcast. We were at this brunch spot, and it's very cosmopolitan, and the seats were very close to one another. So when we were being, shown our seat, there was already a couple there having their, eating their food, and the seats were so close. I just felt like, hey man, I need to break the awkwardness of us sitting closer as they were sitting us. I said to the couple, I was like, oh, y'all just weren't going to wait for us. Y'all just going to go ahead and eat your food without us showing up. And so we had some great banter, some great back and forth. And one of the interesting things about this restaurant, they bring you your receipt in a book. So we're sitting there, and the server comes up with the Art of War and sits it on the table. And I asked the general, I was like, "Man, did you order a book? Like what? I didn't see that on the menu." And he was explaining to me that they brought the receipt inside of a book, and you could sign the book. Then we were just talking about the Art of War, how it was a good book, and that this man had given it to some of the guys that he had mentored, or thought it would be a good book to give some guys he mentored. So we had a little conversation around books, and he was saying that one of the best books that he's read recently was The Ghost Boys, which I had not heard of. And I went and ordered it pretty quickly. And I read this book in 3 days. And he was explaining it wasn't a long book. It was a very, very short read. And it's very, that now, unfortunately, there are some people I know that they don't read they don't read fiction. They read all nonfiction. This is a fiction book. This is a book that basically gives an account of a young black boy that's shot by a police officer that had a toy gun, and it does a great job of showing the perspective from multiple angles. So the little boy that's shot, he's the primary speaker. He's the narrator. He's the narrator of the story, and it kind of bounces back and forth between him being alive and him being dead. And Ghost Boys are basically all the black boys that were shot that were innocent, and there's a community of them being led by a pretty prominent figure. And it's a great they did a great job. It did a great job of talking about a very difficult topic, race, gun violence, inner city violence, and just navigating the story. I think the author did an outstanding job. So I think this is a great book to have, to give you some perspective on different point of views, because everyone was, and no one was demonized. So the police officer wasn't demonized. The little boy that was shot wasn't demonized. The court system, like it really gave a comprehensive look at all the components of when a tragic event like this happened, and it's communicated in a story form that can be digested by younger people. I mean, I'm thinking a 12-year-old. My son actually said they read this book when he was in virtual school. That would have been the 5th grade, and it was a good book. So I would highly recommend The Ghost Boys if that's something of interest to you. It's a quick read. It doesn't take long, and it really, even for someone like me that is pretty aware of when these instances have happened and happen. I have a keen interest in these types of stories, but even for someone who may not be connected to these stories, or thinking about the life of a little black boy, I think it just does this author does a great job of communicating a very challenging event. And again, it's very comprehensive. It looks at it from multiple angles, and even follows the child before the incident even happened. So it gives you some context of the life that this young boy was living, and his mother and his sister and his brother, his mother and father, and his grandmother that lived with them. Very well done. So the name of the book is Ghost Boys, and I hope that you would take a look at it. And I would love to hear your thoughts if you take a look. Now, for the part of the podcast you've been waiting for, the best advice ever. And today's best advice is control the controllables. Don't think that controllables is a real word, but you know what I'm saying. Control the things that you can control. I was recently reminded of this because As you know, I'm a South Carolina Gamecock fan, and we lost to our rivals yesterday, the Clemson Tigers. It's a very terrible game. Very anticlimactic. Just wasn't a game that, most games you're like, man, that was a good game, even though you won or you lost. We lost, and I felt like it was one of those games that both teams should have lost. We should have tied. No one deserved to win that game, because if you take away, we gave a touchdown away, you're talking about a 9-7 game. The final score, had we not blundered and gave a touchdown to the Tigers, we would have been a 9-7 final. That's just disgusting. However, what made me think about this is there was, in times past, and I think even to date, watching that game impacts my emotion for the next day. So I've been in this rivalry when we've won, I've been a butthole, and I remember one time I took a newspaper to church, like with the headlines, and was all in Clemson fans' face. It's disgusting. I'm sad to even think that I did some foolery like that, but I've been excited when we've won, and over exuberant. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I've been very sad. And for days after the loss, I'm moping and feeling away. And I don't I don't catch a pass. I don't hike a ball. I don't call a play. I can't. And being a sports fan is a very interesting concept. It's very, it's wild. It's wild to be a fan of a team, but I cannot control the outcome of the game. So therefore, I need to be able to control the controllables. I need to understand that I'm going to watch this game, and win, lose, or draw, I'm going to move forward in life with the same determination, the same goals, the same, whether we won, whether we lost, what. I can't be inhibited by the performance of a team that I'm not even on the team. I don't go to practice. I don't sit in on the meetings. And so I think that's what led me to this best advice ever: to control the things that you can control. Control the controllables. Well, you might say, Mike, how do I do that? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. First thing, you have to identify what is even within your control. What is within your control? There's some things that you don't have no control over. And those things are things that you should just wash your hands of. Like, I have no control over how many interceptions our quarterback's going to throw. My cheering, my fan support, that quarterback, Spencer Rattler, whoever the person is, has going to have to go out there and execute and compete. So just be able to identify what you can control. There's the poem, the serenity prayer, right? Give me the ability to, the things that I can control and the things I can't, let me not be worrying about those things. Identify before you, one of the ways that you can control the controllables is to first identify what you actually can control. The next thing you can do is accept the things that are beyond your control. There's just some things that are beyond my control, and I have to be fine with that. And I think that's how you can control the controllable. Next thing is you would adapt and learn from setbacks. Setbacks will happen. Things won't go the way that you plan. You have to adapt. You have to make adjustments. You have to figure out, how can I learn a lesson from this setback and not allow this setback to set me out or set me down or to put me out of the game. Just learn to make the adjustments and then learn what lessons are important for you to move forward. And the last thing that I think is vitally important, I think Eric E.T., the hip hop preacher, talks about it all the time. You have to practice self-awareness. You have to practice self-awareness. I've understood the older that I get, there's sometimes in life that you feel like, oh, that's just who I am. Like, no, man, there's a pattern in place. And if I'm not aware that these particular things trigger this type of response for me, I'm just gonna keep doing this over and over again. So out of practice, oh, whenever this happens, I start to feel like, okay, I'm watching this great show, and one of the main characters basically had a scenario in her life where her mother died, and her father basically said, hey, don't be emotional at the funeral. Nobody, this is not the day for you to be carrying on you with your emotions. So she internalized that, and instead of like communicating her grief and pain for her mother passing, she started sabotaging other things in her life to feel a way, to feel something, because in a moment where she should be able to express her feelings and how grievous or distressed or sad she is about the passing of her mother, she was told not to do any of that. It was told to shut it down. Don't be in here doing all of that. And so she found other outlets. But had she been aware of this behavior, she would have said, oh, wait a minute. There's a pattern in which anytime something bad happens, I act out in other ways because my father told me that I could not grieve in this moment at a funeral, right? So practice self-awareness. Those are the ways that you can control the controllables. Let me tell you the steps again. Number one, identify what is within your control. Number two, accept what is beyond your control. Number three, adapt and learn from setbacks. And number four, practice self-awareness. And that will help you to control the controllable. Well, in this segment, we're going to talk about the mind of Mike. I have this segment that I do, the mind of Mike. And I was watching sports like I enjoy. And they did the top 5 Thanksgiving foods. Stephen A. Smith. And then one of the other anchors did a top 5. And Stephen A. Smith had something, coconut tarts, inside his top 5. I was like, I'm not going to say that was a trash top 5 that he gave, because that's his 5. I can't be the arbiter of someone else's 5. But I realized, you know what? Let me do my top 5. And I would love to hear from you. What are your top 5 Thanksgiving foods? I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to start with number 5 and work my way up the list. The top 5 Thanksgiving food. This is for me, Mike Goodwin. I know you may feel a way, same way I felt about coconut tart. You might feel a way about what's on my list. So starting off with number 5, I'm going to start off with one of the headliners of Thanksgiving. One of the most important parts of Thanksgiving. My number 5 is turkey. Yeah. Turkey, I like it. I typically will not eat it separate from Thanksgiving. I mean, that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, I get my turkey on. So that's why it makes the top, but it's number 5. It's at the bottom. Now, if I'm gonna get it, let me get that fried. I want fried more than the standard, but I'll take the standard. I take standard, baked, roasted, or however you make the turkey. But I like that fried. I like fried a little better. But at number 5, I got to give it to turkey. I'm gonna go, turkey. Now, if you have good turkey, it's a little, little moist. You don't want that dry. You don't want that dry turkey, but some good moist turkey is great turkey. People hate the word moist. I understand that. I should have gave a trigger warning if you are one of these people. But number 5 on my list is turkey. Number 4, I'm gonna go with potato salad. Yeah, that's Thanksgiving food. Number 4 for me is potato salad. Yeah. I just realized looking at my list, I forgot one. We got to make an adjustment on the fly. So number 4 is potato salad. That's what we're gonna do. Number 3, we're gonna go with our sweet potato pie. That's it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add a dessert in there, or a sweet potato pie, not pumpkin pie. I don't understand these people talking about pumpkin pie. There's coconut pie. I think that's popular. Pecan or pecan pie. That's pretty popular. I'm gonna go with the sweet potato pie. That's gonna be my number 3. Your number two, I'm going with ham. I'm gonna go with ham on that number two. Ham, yeah, man, I gotta have some of that ham. Ham is, yeah, ham's high on my list. We already got turkey. Chicken is one that I can go without because I do so much chicken in my regular diet. Thanksgiving, if I don't have chicken that day, I'm good. Now, we did have chicken and it was outstanding, but I'm going to get that turkey. I'm going to get that ham. And for number one, number one, my number one, probably many of yours, mac and cheese. And I don't care how you make it. What you can do the 5 cheeses. You can do my sister did a Gouda cheese and some other type of cheese. That was very good. But the good old standard mac and cheese, that's number one on my list. So mac and cheese, number one. Number two, we got ham. Number three, we got the sweet potato pie. Number four, potato salad, which I often mistakenly call banana pudding. I got some in my brain. Sometimes I call banana pudding potato salad. But when I'm talking about potatoes, I'm talking about potato salad. And then number five is turkey. I got some honorable mentions, though. I do have some honorable mentions. I have some folks that didn't make the rankings, but they got some votes. Collard greens. Collard greens should have been in the 5, but there's only 5 spots. So collard greens definitely gets the honorable mention. I would go with dressing. Yeah, there's a debate around stuffing and dressing. I'm talking about dressing. I'm talking about the thing that's separate from the meat. Stuffing is what you put in the turkey. I can do with or without stuffing. Give me some dressing. That's what I want, dressing. And then the next, I get 3 honorable mentions. The next honorable mention, this is a sneaker now. This is something that kinda I think is very important, but I think it's underrated. I don't think it gets the love that it should get out here in these Thanksgiving streets, and that is deviled eggs. Yeah. Deviled eggs is a game winner. Deviled eggs is what you want. Matter of fact, deviled eggs held me over until we had dinner because some members of our party were not at the time that we suggested that they arrive. That we needed more cushion. So the deviled eggs allowed us to be satiated as we waited for the other members of our party to arrive. So yes, man, those are my top 5 with honorable mention. I got honorable mention in there, and that's from the mind of Mike. And last but not least, the portion of the show I really enjoy, the what you're not gonna do. So I had something happen. I got cool friends. I got people out here doing some awesome things. I got a buddy of mine, he's a photographer, and we've been trying to get this photo shoot. I was supposed to we were supposed to have a photo shoot. He had this special. I purchased special. It was for a certain time frame. And then I wasn't able to make it to the location. So we made an adjustment. So when I flew out to do the Today Show in September, my buddy lives in New Jersey. So my buddy was gonna come over to New York. Was gonna take the pictures. The day I flew in a day early before the Today Show. Well, it rained the entire day before my appearance on the Today Show. So no pictures. Like New York City, early fall, man, it was gonna be amazing. Like this is where you want to go and take. It rained the entire day, so we weren't able to get it done. So I get a text from my buddy a few days ago, about a week ago now, and he texts me, "Hey man, how close do you live to Columbia, South Carolina?" Which I was like, I didn't even respond to text. I immediately called. I said, "Man, what are you talking about?" He says, "Hey man, I'm coming to Columbia. My friend has an event. He's doing a performance, right?" I'm like, number one, I live in Columbia. When are you coming? Well, he was coming on the day where we were leaving to go to Charlotte. So we would not, but he was saying maybe he'd come a little earlier. We can get the photo shoot done, knock it out. So I'm like, okay, let me know. Because that's what I was doing. I said, well, I said, because it was a little strange. He said his friend had a performance. I was like, who's your friend? What's your friend name? He said, my friend's name is Malcolm. I ain't pressing. I ain't think much of Malcolm. Because I'm like, this dude know dudes. This guy knows people. He said, my friend name is Malcolm. Hi, man. Let me know. So we didn't hear anything. By the time I heard something, I think we were in Charlotte. Like, I'm in Columbia. I'm in Charlotte. Well, have a great event. Hope everything goes well. We get on. We move it on. I get on Facebook Sunday morning. Just happen to pull up Facebook. I see there's a club in Columbia because that's the club the guy mentioned he was going to be at with his friend Malcolm. I look at the picture. It's a picture of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Theo, come on, man. This your friend? Malcolm? So I took a screenshot. This is Malcolm? Is this your king? I'm like, bro, you could have told me Malcolm Jamal Warner was your boy, that you was coming to town for Malcolm Jamal Warner. I wasn't going to ask you for no tickets, man. I wouldn't ask you, hey, man, let me meet Theo. I would love to meet Theo, childhood fan. My friend Malcolm. I mean, what you're not going to do is act like everybody in the world, I ain't gonna say everybody in the world, but people in my demographic don't know who Malcolm Jamal Warner and my friend Malcolm. Man, I was like, bro, come on, man. Why you Hollywood me like that, man? My friend Malcolm. Dude, Malcolm Jamal Warner. That's what you're not going to do is hide your famous friends from your boy. That's what you're not going to do. Well, thank y'all. It's been another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can email me at info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. This week, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's November the 30th at 8 o'clock at the Good Nights Comedy Club. If you know folks in Raleigh, let them know. Get the word out. I'll be in Raleigh. I'm going to Tampa. I'm being Kansas City, Boston, Virginia, South Boston, Virginia. That's by Danville area, like South Virginia. I'm near, I think in February, possibly. Let people know, man. They can go to my website, mikegoodwin.com, and find all the information on the Big Dad Energy Tour. Again, thank y'all so much. Please rate, subscribe, share this podcast. Tell people how much you enjoy listening to me on the Hump Day Wednesday. And I thank y'all, and I'll see you again next week. Same bat channel, same bat place. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate it. Peace.